We all know the incredible Spider-Man, who has been saving people's lives throughout generations. A new movie comes out every now and then and takes us to the wonderful world of that superhero. This time, Spider-Man 1 has been watched a little bit more carefully, and here is what we could find from that detailed search done at the speed of 0.25. The things you discover after watching Spider-Man 1 at 0.25 speed. 1. Peter has different powers after being bitten by a spider in a lab. He discovers them one by one, often to his own astonishment. When it comes to the blurred vision, some post-production work did not go that well. Peter puts on his glasses and suddenly the whole screen is blurred. Somebody spotted this, as it has been corrected in the Spider-Man 2 movie. Hey, if you are interested in slowing down some other movies, subscribe to our channel and like it, just to make sure you will not miss any of our other videos and ideas. 2. When it comes to costumes on the set, nothing is done by chance. Everything is well thought up to the smallest detail. This is why this scene of a Thanksgiving dinner at Peter's apartment is so important and full of meaning. Let's take a look at the characters' outfits. The Spider-Man himself is wearing a green tie, which is supposed to represent Green Goblin, whereas Green Goblin is wearing a red tie, the color of Spider-Man. Harry Osborn also has a red tie, which in this situation indicates that he is going to be the next Goblin. When it comes to MJ, she's wearing black, and as we find out from a previous scene, it is to impress Harry's father, as he loves that color. 3. At some point, Goblin is chasing Spider-Man and is stopped by his web. It takes Goblin a longer moment to get through that trap, and if we listen carefully to this scene, we will find some interesting sound coming from the ripping web. Yes, it is a pure sound of metal, which indicates how strong and durable Spider-Man's web must be. 4. But before Spider-Man was actually building more complicated structures from his web, he had to work out its production. When he manages to do this for the first time in the school canteen, we can actually observe his famous gesture, which will later always appear when making his secret weapon. 5. The car that Uncle Ben uses in the film is actually the Honey Beach 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88. What a name, you have to admit. This very same vehicle appeared in a few different movies, such as Evil Dead, Darkman, or Drag Me to Hell. 6. When Peter's flat is visible from the outside, we can observe some very interesting sign on the side of his building. It says the web string platform, and just could not be any different when it comes to the film about the greatest natural webbing producer in the history of filmmaking. 7. When Spider-Man is getting more and more popular in his city, all the newspapers start to write about his incredible achievements. In some shots we can see the front pages of a few of them, and an attentive viewer can watch a small mistake. Some lines are copied and pasted in order to make the article look longer and more professional. 8. The co-creator of Spider-Man was a guy called Steve Ditko. He put a great effort into making one of the most fascinating and evergreen story of all times. This is why in the film there is a link reminding that person to everyone who is a little bit more oriented in the history of Spider-Man. It is the year on a register plate of a police car. It says 1927, and it is exactly the year when Ditko was born. 9. Can you believe that in this scene from the school canteen, Tobey Maguire has actually done this trick himself? It was not added in post-production, but obtained thanks to a very sticky material and hours of practicing. 10. During the fight between Green Goblin and Spider-Man, there is a shot of Goblin's shoes, and as one of the Twitter users has already noticed, he is wearing Nike Air. 11. It took Peter a lot of time to discover all his powers and abilities. One thing is having them, the other is practicing and getting better. When Peter is trying them out in his room, he creates a chaos and incredible noise. His Aunt May wants to check on him, and at that moment we can have a closer look at Peter's wallpaper. It is covered with tiny spider webs, which is a great connection to the movie itself. 12. In the scene with the before-mentioned Oldsmobile, Peter's outfit reveals a little bit more that has been previously planned. We can take a glimpse of his wrestling costume underneath his regular clothes. 13. Spider-Man is a hero and saves many lives throughout the whole movie. with one of the most spectacular actions takes place when he holds a cabin full of kids and lets it land safely. What makes us wonder is the trace of blood visible in the rope, as we all know that Spider-Man has gloves in his hands. So how did that blood got to the metal part? It is probably connected with the weight on the cabin, but we can only guess here. 14. Do you remember the scene when Harry asks MJ to wear something black for the Thanksgiving dinner with his father? It is because Mr. Osborn likes black. Maybe this is the connection to the photo visible behind him in his mansion. There is a woman in a black dress that could have been his former wife. 15. In the before-mentioned scene at school, there is one more interesting detail. If we look closely at Peter's left hand, we will definitely notice the mark left by a spider from the lab. 16. In this scene, Parker is trying once again to produce some of his web. At the beginning, it is a difficult and stressful process, as he has no idea what can work best. So he tries over and over again using some well-known sentences like,
"Fly! Up, up, and away, web! Shazam!"
yes, you heard him well. These are the words used by, among others, Superman or Shazam. 17. Throughout the film, we can find some connotations with different characters, like the one with lines from other movies. Similar example takes place when Jameson asks about some photographs of Spider-Man and gets the answer.
Tomorrow morning, Spider-Man, page 1 with a decent picture this time.
Problem is, we don't have a decent picture. Eddie's been on it for weeks. We barely get a glimpse of him.
The Eddie here is Eddie Brock, the same one that is going to become Venom in the next Spider-Man movie. 18. Not only people but also some buildings play a role in the film. The Twin Towers, the dramatically damaged landmark of New York, is visible a few times in Spider-Man 1. There is a reflection of them in Peter's glasses, and then they are visible on the screen during the office scene. 19. Among other details, there are also those connected with mistakes in post-production. Situations which should not take place are usually spotted at that time and fixed as well as possible.
Impressive.
But in the scene of fight between Spider-Man and Green Goblin, in slow motion it is visible that even though the bad guy says impressive, his lips are not actually moving at all. 20. It is very interesting and surprising that when Peter Parker is being bitten by the spider during his trip to the lab, the spider's actual genetic abilities are shown on the screen behind the main character, so an attentive viewer has a sneak peek on what Spider-Man's powers are going to be. 21. Green Goblin wants to catch the photographer who takes Spider-Man's photos, and he knows that Jameson knows. We also know that he knows. However, in the scene when the villain is trying to get to the truth, Jameson keeps it to himself, even though he's in great danger. He wants to protect the boy that Peter Parker is, and that shows him in a completely different light. 22. At first sight, there is nothing surprising in the scene when father and son hug each other, but in the slow motion there is some disturbing detail lurking in the distance. It is the Green Goblin that indicates the future of Harry Osborn. 23. Some details may travel from movie to movie, and that happens with MJ's photo. The one taken by Peter Parker himself during the school trip later is visible behind him in one of the scenes in Spider-Man 2. 24. Have you ever wondered how Spider-Man's webbing gets out through his suit? In Spider-Man 1, the answer is visible on the screen for a very brief moment and only in slow motion. There is a special web shooter, generally hidden and not shown further throughout the movie. Hey, you still there? Well, since you made it this far, here are all the shoutouts we promised everyone that commented on our previous video. If you want to be shouted out in our next upcoming video, as well as the ones prior, just make sure you have subscribed to our channel and like this video. What's more, leave a comment that says, "It's my lucky day."